morning everyone, I am Cyril Anto Balinal Panis and this is my video output number 2. For the number 1, we have the population of 1,500, the population mean of 42, the variance of 16, and sample size of 30. So the first that we are going to find is the sample mean. And we all know that population mean is just equal to sample mean. Therefore, 42 is our sample mean. Next that we are going to find is the variance. And the formula to find out the variance is the standard deviation over the square root of sample size multiplied by the square root of the population minus the sample size over the population minus 1. So we just have to rewrite this one. Since the given here is the variance, we are just going to find the square root of 16 so that we could get the standard deviation. So the square root of 16, we all know that it is 4, and the square root of the sample size, which is the square root of 30, multiplied by the square root of the population 1,500 minus the sample size, which is 30, over the population minus 1. So let us get our calculator and solve for the variance. So according to my calculator, the answer here is 0.72. That will be our variance. The next that we are going to find is the standard error. And the formula to find the standard error is standard error is equal to the variance over the sample size multiplied by the population minus the sample size over population minus the 1, the constant number. So again, let us rewrite this one. We have the variance of 16 over the sample size of 30 multiplied by the population of 1,500 minus the sample size of 30 over 1,500 minus 1, which is the constant number. And then again, let's get our calculator to solve for the standard error. And according to my calculator, our standard deviation is 0.52. For the number 2, we have here 2,000 as the population mean of 75, the standard deviation of 5, and then the sample size of 60. Again, to be able to find the sample mean, masimple lang kasi alam natin na ang equal na population mean is the sample mean. So, kung anong population mean natin, yun din ang ating sample mean. We have the 75. And the next that we are going to find is the variance. Again, the formula of variance is equal to the standard deviation over the square root of the sample size multiplied by the square root of 1,000 of our population minus the sample size over population minus 1. Again, 1 is a constant number. So again, let us rewrite this one. So we have here the given of standard deviation, which is 5 over the square root of our sample size, which is the 60, times the square root of our population, which is 2,000, minus the sample size, which is 60, over 2,000 minus the constant number 1. Let us get our calculator. Says that it is 0.63, or if you round it to the nearest to the decimal places, it will be 0.64. Next, let's compute for the standard error. The formula that we are going to use again is the the variance over the sample size multiplied by the population minus the sample size over population minus 1. Since the given here is the standard deviation, we are going to multiply it by itself or squared it to be able to find the variance. We have here 5 squared over the sample size of 60 multiplied by n, which is the population of 2000, minus the 60 over 2000 minus 1. Let us get our calculator. And after using the calculator, we get the 0.40 as our standard error. Woo! So for number 3, we have 1,000 as population, mean of 150, the variance of 64, and the sample size of 50. Again, we all know that the population mean is equal to the sample mean. So our sample mean here is equal to 150. And the next that we are going to find is the variance. And to find the variance, we have to use the formula that is given, which is the standard deviation over the square root of sample size multiplied by the square root of the sample of the population minus the sample size over the population minus 1. So we just have to rewrite this one, since the given here is variance, we have to get its square root to find its standard deviation. And we all know that the square root of 64 is 8. Therefore, 8 over the square root of our sample size, which is 50, to be multiplied by the square root of our population, which is 1000, minus our sample size, which is 50 over 1000 over the constant number 1. Let's get our calculator to solve for the variance. And therefore, our variance is equal to 1.06. Rounded na po siya, since we all know naman kung paano po tayo magra-round off. The next that we have to look for is the standard deviation, which is, to find it, we have to use the given formula, which is the what we call this one? The variance over the sample size multiplied by the population minus the sample size over the population minus 1. Again, we have to rewrite it. The variance, you have here 64 over the sample size, which is 50, multiplied by 1000 as its population minus the 50, which is the sample size, minus 1000 minus 1. Let's get our calculator to solve for our standard deviation. Therefore, our standard deviation is 1.22.